Is that the goal?
No.
No time. Speak for yourself.
You gotta turn on a
Oh,
different
you
button.
know
You
what?
got it?
I always speak for yourself. I'll say it out loud. This is cool.
It's frustrating.
Yeah.
I don't have anything to say, so I'll just.
We need a battery
There
in
you
this
go.
one.
And Mel, see, he's not gonna be here.
This meeting of the Livingston City Commission is called to order. May we have roll call, please? Yes.
Present.
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 We will now have a moment of silence. Thank you. Please rise for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
My phone may be on.
Me too. Turn it off. There we go.
First on our agenda is our public comment. Please be reminded that public comments should be limited to items over which the City Commission has supervision. Please come on up, state your name and address. You're coming up later, Paul.
Jack Luther, 104 South 5th Street, Livingston. I was here 2 weeks ago at your last meeting on August 6th, and we talked about a little bit about George Simon. I passed this around if you remember. And your advice to me was to talk to Mr. Cardos. Unfortunately for me, he was going on vacation and he didn't have time to talk to me, but he did send out an email to me through Faith. And I think there's a little bit of confusion about this, I guess, a little miscommunication perhaps on my part. I think, Quentin, you said, that I was on the Historic Preservation Commission, and maybe I gave the impression that this was in the historic district, and it's not.
Oh, no, you didn't give that impression, but
No,
I forgot
the
it.
historic district on South Main goes only it includes the senior center and the Montana block there, and that's about as far south as it goes. So this is out of that out of the historic district. However, it's still historic, and I'm upset. I talked to the property owner, and she's a little bit upset too that a promise was made by the city that they would put that stamp back in the sidewalk. We're losing a lot of history in Livingston. Obviously, this isn't as important as the Albemarle or the Opera House or even Calamity's Cabin, that kind of stuff. But it is history. We lost a lot last year when we filled in the vaults on Callender Street. We were able to put most of that historic features back in the sidewalk there, and I'm happy for that. I'm glad we were able to work that out. Mike's reply to me was, I apologize I didn't have time to call, but the last day in office before I leave for a couple of weeks is hectic, and I can understand that. Thanks for bringing up the issue on the sidewalk stamp. I had our staff reach out to the property owner, offer to include the stamp at her cost, which I think is it's not a solution. She's already paying for that sidewalk. There's a city sidewalk there, and and along with all the property owners. They have to play for that replacement, and then to offer to charge her more to put that stamp back in after a promise was made by the city. So I'm hoping that the commission can do something to help me get that stamp back on the sidewalk. I have no idea how much it would cost, you know. It's only a couple $100, I would do it, but I don't think it's going to be that cheap. I'm sure we've got some kind of a contingency fund in that project down there, and so I don't think it's a lack of money. It's maybe just a lack of will. Anyway, thanks very much for listening to me. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Jack.
Yeah.
Jay Kiefer, 325 South Main. I noticed that on recent utility bills, the city's added a $1 fee for to sort of offset any expenses for the recycling process. Can you tell me how long that's been going on?
Lisa, will you give the timeline?
That was instituted in the first bills post ratification of the budget. So
I just need a date.
August 1st.
August 1st. Okay. August 1st. I think in the Billings Gazette, probably the third Monday in July, they it was headlines on the front page. I never saw it instituted. I never saw it in the Enterprise, but but the headline was "City stops accepting cardboard to be recycled," and in the body of the article, they asked the city why, and it said because the market has dried up. China is not buying carpet. Is not buying the cardboard. And I would like to know if the biggest city in Billings has stopped accepting cardboard to be recycled. Why is a community the size of Livingston in the same business?
Lisa, do you have any thoughts on that? And
Can I
I
offer some?
can, as yeah.
I found that article.
Good.
It's the headline is actually Billings Recycling Business stops taking cardboard for free as market struggles continue. This is the first time I've seen it, so I'm just skimming it here. But
Go ahead.
But it looks like they accept cardboard and paper products for a fee. So $5 minimum fee per drop off and an additional 5 cents per pound for anything over 100 pounds. That's just like what I'm
Oh,
doing.
do you want to run that? Can you run those the numbers and the weight?
You want me to repeat?
Yeah,
the numbers that you guys saw?
I've got my pen now
So
working.
it looks like this is a company in Billings.
Okay.
It doesn't say it's the,
It's not city operated. It's a private firm.
I mean, this is the first time I've seen it, so
Okay.
don't quote me on it. Like this,
Well,
I'm just looking at it,
you're
but
going to
yeah.
be quoted because this is
Looks
being
like
recorded.
this Pacific drop off lot on 6th Avenue. Okay. Maybe Shannon knows more about this since he's public works, but it says the recycling company will be accepting cardboard and paper products for a $5 minimum fee per drop off and an additional 5 cents per pound for anything over 100 pounds. It says there's a supply and a demand. Yeah, and it talks about what we've talked about, the national and international shifts with that have been happening. But so it doesn't say that they stopped
Later on.
taking it. It says they stopped taking it for free. Yeah.
And we are going to be talking about this in the resolutions as well. So
Do we have any idea as far as the amount of cardboard that is being recycled on a weekly or monthly basis?
that's what we're going to get into on.
Is this on the agenda?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I got here. I didn't have time to review it. I'm sorry.
Shannon's here, so he might. Be able
Okay,
to
then,
offer
okay,
some.
then we'll just, okay. Well, then I'll just skip down to the capital, the strategic capitalization plan. The 4 minutes already up? Did I? It seems like, it seems like I'm using my form.
Jay,
a
why
lot of-
don't you have another minute and tell us your next thoughts?
Okay, I would like to know on this strategic plan that was for the next 3 years for the city. On there, how many? There were 8 meetings, I know, and I would like to know. And I heard from Mr. Cardos that there's some meetings where there was a small sampling of individuals from the public that attended on there, and I know that watching this body in action before a resolution gets adopted, there's 3 readings. How many readings were there regarding the strategic capitalization plan for the next 3 years?
With accepting the strategic plan,
Mm-hmm.
each meeting was public. There was no closed meetings or no meetings that weren't including the
I know
public.
that.
Then-
Okay.
Then we had a draft of the strategic plan that we discussed in an open public meeting, and then we approved it the last meeting.
Okay, on there, was it at any time, did the commission say, you know what, let's look at this? Anybody that has children know that there's they present their needs as wants. And did the commission ever say, you know what, let's strip this? Was anything stripped from the strategic plan for the next 3 years? What?
It's a 5-year plan.
Okay, 5 years.
And it is, there were things that were taken off through discussion and through interactions with the community. They were part of what went on the strategic plan and what came off of it. And so it was a brainstorming. The city brought ideas. We expanded on those ideas. If any commissioners have any examples they would like to refer to or
It's a
anything.
combination of wants and needs. What do we see 5 years down the road? You know, it's a plan. It's not policy.
Really?
The plan.
I find this incredible, Quentin, because when I saw,
Okay, we got
okay, well, then
time's up.
well, you know, I really don't know why I feel that if a resident of the city who's registered to vote can't, he is allotted 4 minutes, that you should restrict your time on there to wait until after my 4 minutes are up. And then that way you can take notes and you can go there and I could sit down on there. Wouldn't this be the more logical way to conduct business?
Well, ask the question and then let.
Well, I know, but
Let
then I
us-
want my time to stop. Well, when you're answering.
But I think if we were to take it apart, there's been 4 minutes of time. So we're going to
Okay.
leave it at that.
I can see why people love to come to these meetings.
Any other public comment? All right. Tonight we have no proclamations. We have 2 scheduled public comments. First, we have Paul Reichert.
Oh, we got to ratify first.
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot the consent items, jumped over. We have 2 consent items tonight. Do we have a motion from the commission to approve consent items A and B, or any that you'd like pulled for discussion?
Make a motion to accept consent items A and B.
Second.
We have a motion by Schwartz and a second by Newts. Roll call, please. Yes?
Or
4.
4.
Motion passes. Tonight, we have no proclamations. We have 2 scheduled public comments. So Paul Reichert from the Executive Director of Prospera Business Network with Economic Development Update to Livingston City Commission. Paul.
Thank you, commissioners. Oh, is this on? Can't
Think
tell.
so, yeah.
Sorry, I don't want to. I think you can all hear me. Thank you for that introduction. Paul Reichert, Executive Director of Prospera Business Network. We're a nonprofit organization. We're based in Bozeman, but we provide community and economic development services throughout Park County and Gallatin County. I know there was a email sent with some material, so I'm just going to very briefly go over just a reminder of the services we provide to residents and businesses in Park County and City of Livingston. Free, no-cost business counseling, that's one-on-one or over the phone business counseling to anyone who needs it. We offer a huge slate of professional business trainings, probably 60 or 70 trainings a year on a wide variety of services, and we do offer scholarships for those trainings. We offer access to state and federal business development grants, a very wide variety of business certifications, business development tools, an economic profile of Gallatin and Park County that does a deep dive into the demographics and economic data for the two counties, and broad support for community development efforts. Some of our recent accomplishments from this past year are a free Grow with Google training that we provided to businesses in Livingston. And that also included free follow-up with the trainer so that businesses not only got exposed to how to develop their Go with Google platform, but then really a deep dive. Most of us, all of us after a training kind of need to know, can you show me that again? I don't remember how that did that. And they were able to get a free counseling session with the trainer afterwards to make sure that their efforts were very successful. We've had 40 business clients that have received free business counseling throughout the entire county, including the City of Livingston. We did the transition for the revolving loan fund with the City of Livingston. We had our board meeting April 2019 here at the Food Resource Center, and many of you attended our social afterwards, so thank you for doing that. Each year, we've been publishing for the past few decades a free economic profile of Gallatin and Park County. Many of you have seen this lovely publication. It's freely available on our website as a download. And we've, since 2017, had 5 business loans that we funded in City of Livingston and Park County, $827,000 of new business loans. What I want to spend a little more time on is what's coming up ahead this fall, next year. We're going to take this economic profile that's been quite the document, 125 pages. It's kind of a beast. Not many people want to go through it. We're going to take the core data and publish it on a website so it's right at your fingertips. So there won't be a printed publication any longer. That'll include the City of Livingston and Park County in that data. We're going to apply to renew our certification as a Certified Regional Development Corporation, and I'll be seeking a letter of support from this body later this fall to include in our application. That's a formal designation by the Montana Department of Commerce, and we have to do a formal application, and letters of support are requested for that. We've recently been awarded a new support from the Montana Department of Agriculture for a new food and ag development center. That just means that Prospera will have some resources to help those that are doing value-added agriculture products or services that are taking Montana ag products or materials and doing value-added business development and helping them get grants, loans, or other support that they can be successful. We're just ramping that up right now, and we'll have some meetings later this fall, but we'll planning sort of more significant efforts in 2020. And I've already reached out to Katie Weaver, Michael at the Food Resource Center, and others just to make sure we're including anyone and everyone in the Park County and the city of Livingston that could benefit from that. We're adding a new business counselor later in 2019, so we'll double the support we have for business development. Hopefully that trickles over to Livingston and Park County, so no one has to wait. They can either get more personal service or just better service because we'll have more an added business counselor. I am in conversations with different people in the community about community development objectives, so that's kind of a general one. But I know there's a lot of growth pressure and change in the city of Livingston, so I try to help where I can there. And lastly, this is a little bit more long term, but I just want to make you aware that Prospera participates with the Montana Economic Development Association. It's a nonprofit organization that's essentially our professional trade organization, our peer organizations throughout the state. Like Prospera, it really goes all the way from Baker to Libby and everywhere in between. And we are working on, as a consortium, working on what we're calling next generation economic and community development tools to really take a close look at how Montana funds economic and community development and take a close look at some of the policies that we have or should have so that we're prepared for going forward in this economy that's changing very, very fast, and technology is changing very, very fast. And there's a lot of disruption. All of you probably have personal experiences with that. And we just feel it's time as a statewide entity to get Montana ready for really what's upon us right now, but to be prepared better for the future. So that's my quick highlights, and happy to take questions if you have any.
Commissioners, any questions?
Read it pretty thoroughly. Yeah, thanks. And I like the emails, getting the updates and stuff like that. That's really helpful too. And
Okay.
stuff like that. I see how much you guys really are doing, and I appreciate it.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
All right. Thanks very much.
I have one question,
sure.
Paul. What are you seeing as the big change for Livingston versus the Bozeman market?
Well, population growth. I think obviously the Bozeman community in Gallatin County has grown really, really fast population wise, and I think you have seen and probably are continuing to see some population growth pressure. All of us are well aware of real estate costs, and that's, you don't need to look too far to really see that. And just some of the new projects that are already either slated, announced, or underway here in this community. I've certainly advocated, I know years ago, that helping the community grow in a way that's the most beneficial for the city of Livingston is a real positive, and I have a strong interest in downtown redevelopment. And when the time's right, I'm happy to help and participate in that so that the growth occurs in a way that the community really wants to see happen. In terms of just specific details, it's hard to pinpoint any one thing, but certainly I don't see the market, I don't see the growth. Probably the biggest single factor that influences really all of us is the airport. 1.4 million riders in the airport today. 1.4 million, just kind of put your head around that number. It's like, wow, that's a lot of people. He's predicting 2 million within the next 4 to 5 years. That's 600,000 more people coming in and out of the Bozeman Airport. Wow, be careful what you wish for. So knowing how you want to grow the community is really, really important. And putting the assets and the infrastructure where you want growth to occur is critical. And I think Livingston has an opportunity to really do the right thing if it puts its mind to it. And I'm happy to help in any way I can to support that. All right, thank you.
Awesome, thanks.
Next on our agenda, we have Adam Stern of the City Planning Board with policy recommendations regarding large format retail. Adam.
Thank you.
Great. I'm Adam Stern from the Planning Board. Um, With respect to Jack's project, that probably exists right in the urban renewal district. And so that'd be a perfect project. That falls squarely within the urban renewal plan, something you want to send to the URA, ask them to investigate it. That's, yeah, that's square within the urban renewal plan. All right, thank you for your time tonight. We're here to talk about, I'm here representing the Planning Board. I'm sorry. Okay. I'm here representing the Planning Board, and then Jim Berg, the Chair of the Zoning Commission, is here as well. And we're here to talk about the work we've done on large format retail. A lot of you guys have been involved with this as well. I'm going to talk about why we're doing this, and then the work we've done so far, and then what the process that we're recommending, and then what the next steps are. And so these large format retail stores, colloquially called big box stores, that's kind of a loaded term, but these very large corporate retail establishments, there's no regulations for those, no policies at all in Livingston. And we've had a few warning signs that show that those might be coming in the 5 to 10 year time frame. We all remember the truck stop out on the east end of town, although that's not a large format retail establishment. That is a large corporate establishment with home base outside of Livingston. And then there's Murdoch's on the south side of town, a very good store, but that qualifies under a rigorous definition of large format retail. And so Livingston as a community needs to develop some policies to regulate these sorts of establishments and make certain that these establishments work with the community and want to be part of the community. And then we can all work together. And these sorts of policies are designed to exclude corporations that don't want to work with the community. Most of these corporations, they don't care about Livingston. We're the only ones that care about Livingston. Their owners are in New York and in Beijing and in Paris. They don't care about Livingston. We're the only ones that are here to protect it. And so if we don't develop policies to manage the change that's coming, we'll get change imposed upon us. And so that this is an effort to prepare for that. And if we have to do this now before there's any imminent issues, if we wait till something comes to town, it's too late. And so we've seen some warning signs. And then the Planning Board has done quite a bit of work on this. We studied it for about a year. We talked with the City Council last February, in February of 2018, letting them know what we were doing. We held a pair of public meetings. One of them had no people, but the other one had 13 people, and that was on April 11th. And from that, we developed this report, which is in your agenda packet. And this was, back then, as you know, the Planning Board and the Zoning Commission were the same. It was approved unanimously by the Planning Board Zoning Commission. We discussed this with the Parks and Trails Committee. They supported it as well. And then the Livingston the Planning Board approved this unanimously last December. And what this report is a report to the City Commission talking about what we want to do and go forward. Let's just super quickly flip through this report. There's the process on the front page, but what this basically is if you go to like starting on page 3 of 5, there's a whole bunch of policy tools in here that we investigated at the Planning Board. There are some recommendations, but mostly it's a list of the policy tools used in other communities all around both the United States and in really the developed world. There's a lot of examples of these types of policies. And so we grabbed all the different tools that have been used and listed them here, modified them for Livingston where necessary. And to some extent, these tools are pretty technical. But the point is that these tools are here. And then in the last 2 pages are a bunch of references from many cities that are similar to Livingston and others, references to other large policies on large format retails from other municipalities. There's both the sections to the laws and links to their online presence. So there's a lot of work to pull from. And I think we did a pretty good job summarizing all that in this report. And Jim was there with us When we put that together, Darrell was on the planning board, I think, for a while, helping us develop this. So that's the work that we've done. And now the process. So what we want to do now, what needs to happen now? Well, two things. The first step is to have the city council either approve this effort or say we don't want to have any part of it. There's a lot of work to be done. We have to have some public meetings. There's a lot of study to do. There's no point in going forward with this if the city council is not interested in that. And so the city council at this point would maybe, I don't know how you want to do it, maybe put it on as an action item, say, we approve the effort to develop policies for large format retail establishments. Then you guys are the representatives of the community. The community backs the effort to develop the policies. That does not mean you have to accept whatever we produce. We might do a terrible job. You might say, this is a terrible job, go back and do it again. But what you are doing is giving support to the effort to develop these policies that if we do a good job and we do represent the community, ultimately they would be established as laws and adopted by the city council. That's the first step to get approval for the effort from the city council. After that, we need to hold some public meetings. We need to really understand how the community feels. We all know how we feel about it and the planning board folks, but that's admittedly a minority of the population. And so we need to have some public listening sessions where we explain the issues, explain the tools, and then get the community feedback. And at that point, probably the planning board and the zoning commission would each attack different parts of the policies, whichever falls under their purview, and develop recommendations for the city council. We're not done with the process yet. At that point, it comes to the city council, and now the real work begins. Because these are lengthy laws, they have multiple components, and every municipality has their laws structured a little bit different. You know, sometimes it's all in zoning. Sometimes the building codes are in zoning or out of zoning. And so it's going to be up to our legal staff to determine how to take the recommendations and actually make them into code for Livingston. That might require a little assistance from an outside attorney or a legal consulting firm or our growth policy people, the growth policy firm, whoever it is who might have experience with this. But that's going to be the heart of the matter when the city's legal staff takes a lot of time and energy and actually creates some real policies. And that time and energy, you know, that costs money. That's taking resources away from other things in the city. So that's an important decision for the city council. So we bring forth the recommendations. Then the city council, if they like the recommendations, then directs the city administration to take however much time they need, 60 days, to develop the draft policies. And then we do the public hearings and the city council meetings to eventually adopt that. So that's like a 12 to 18 month process from here. And we've already been working on it for 2 years. But this is the way the legislative process works. And if we do a good job and we're careful, we'll end up with some real good policies that maintain the character of Livingston, even given all these changes that are occurring. And Paul brought it up that, you know, our population's been constant for a long time, but there's a lot of pressures coming. So that's all I've got. Jim, you want to say anything? Want to add anything?
My name is Jim Berg, 223 South 5th Street. I'm chair of the zoning commission. As Adam said, I was involved in the discussions in writing of this report when we had the joint zoning and planning commission. I just wanted to maybe make 3 comments about the purpose of this work. One is the danger a lot of people have expressed about us becoming overwhelmed by real large establishments coming into town. And this is not a unique problem to Livingston. It's a problem that has happened all over the country, where we've really seen a transformation from downtown local businesses to large format businesses. And if you've been around Southwest Montana for a few decades, you know what happened over in Bozeman, where South 19th was developed in a very short period of time. So what we're trying to do, one is regulate any development that happens and make it at a scale that would suit Livingston. And so there is a proposed provision in here to put an upper limit of 40,000 square feet on in a building. That's about the size of Shopko or Murdoch's as kind of the upper bounds of any new building. Second thing I want to maybe just mention is that we're starting to have some real transportation issues. We've been hassling about this for years now. And any new large businesses are really going to affect transportation. So when we review a process like that, we need to incorporate the transportation impacts into that process. And then I think the third thing, just to kind of keep in mind, is we all know the changes are going to be happening. And I'm trying to kind of come up with the concept that kind of helps us have a good response to these changes. And what I've been thinking about lately is just the concept of community. And if we can do our growth, do our planning in a way that allows for change but keeps our sense of community intact, I think that's a good thing to do. So with that in mind, I ask you to consider this proposal and approve it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Adam. Commissioners, do you have any questions for
I
either
have
Jim?
one, I guess first to Jay, how do we proceed with this to move it forward?
Like Adam said, this has been going on for a couple years.
Right.
So it's on Mike's plate. When he gets back, I don't know if he's seen it. I'm sure he's seen this already,
Yeah.
Yeah, this isn't the first time I've seen it either. Yeah, so.
So, that's best to be answered by Mike, but I assume it's probably going to be on the agenda.
We
here.
can make it an agenda item very soon.
Procedurally,
And how it shows up on that agenda, I guess.
Yeah, I guess that's what I need to know. Well, because I want it to go forward. I want to be able to say, yeah, let's start the
There-
process, approve this. And
right,
Instead of-
there would need to be a motion, a second, put it on an agenda, and we can
Right.
certainly discuss that with Mike. He's back in the office tomorrow, so.
oh, okay.
And he is aware of this, and when I did speak with him earlier today, we were discussing, that we really couldn't do anything tonight other than
Right.
put it on a subsequent agenda.
And then secondly, our form of government in Livingston are we held by the state on anything on this? Do we have to, not being a charter form of government?
Question, actually.
Well, yeah, that's one of those things I think,
Yeah,
are we
And
superseding
that's-
things that we can't do?
definitely me and Mike will look at that.
Okay. Those are my two concerns, but I've been to other municipalities, my own hometown, where a grocery store just pulls up, moves a mile away and builds another 40,000 foot structure, and that one sits there. They never put a demolition clause in there to, try to recoup some of that, stuff like that. So yeah, this stuff needs to be done sooner than later because it is coming and we better want to be ready for it. So I yield.
Commissioners, any comments, questions? I've been part of this process at just the end of when I was on the planning board, but what I appreciate about it is that we are moving something forward as a community versus being forced to move something forward. And I think that's important that we, as you stated, Jim, you said it at the end, that we are choosing what our community looks like. And I think this is a prime example. It's taken a long time. It's going to take longer. And sometimes I look at my watch and think, oh, we're running out of time. But I think I agree with Quentin. We need to take this very seriously and move this forward in some way and do it sooner than later. And I don't think that it's too soon in that we have the work behind it is just great. I mean, it's great work. And so I think it's time.
Madam Chair, can I make a quick recommendation? So two commissioners, if they so choose, if they approve, can get something on an agenda. So you right now could say, I'd like to get this on the agenda next meeting as an action item, discuss, approve, deny planning board's efforts to develop LFR policies. And then another city commissioner would approve it, and then it goes on the next agenda.
We tend to do that at the end during commissioner comments. That's how it's sort of
I was
Perfect.
thinking of
moved
the same
towards
thing,
that.
Perfect.
just, you know,
And
have
yeah.
someone say, yeah, we know.
Okay, perfect.
So then commissioners will ask for things on the agenda at that
And I
time.
suspect the discussion for that action item won't be too much because we've already covered all that. And we're
Right.
just starting to open up public.
Well, that's the thing.
Comments.
Now we want the public involved. yeah,
Very good.
at this point.
All right. Thank you
Thank
guys so
you,
much for
Adam.
your time.
Thanks, Jack. Adam.
Thanks, Jay and Lisa.
Thank you.
Tonight, we have one public hearing.
Can there be any comment?
No. Not during scheduled public comment. Tonight, we have one public hearing, ordinance number 2081, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Livingston, Montana, amending ordinance 2030 and chapter 9, article 4, section, I had to think for a second, section 9-222 of the Livingston Municipal Code entitled Parking, Stopping, and Standing by establishing a no parking tow-away zone adjacent to Wilcoxen's plant on West Park Street, making violations thereof a civil offense and providing a penalty. Lisa.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is the second reading for this ordinance change to establish this no parking tow-away zone at Wilcoxen's. This is to facilitate safe passage, entry, and exit for larger vehicles from Wilcoxen's in the immediate area. So this is a public hearing. Again, the second reading. If it is approved this evening, it would be effective 30 days from now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We will open this public meeting. Sorry, on ordinance number 2081. This public meeting or public hearing is open. Do we have any public comment? This public hearing is now closed. Commissioners, any questions or statements, comments?
I think all our questions, my questions were answered the first reading.
Likewise.
I would say the one thing that is clear now in the document is that it's 20 feet from the alley, from end to end, versus in the map in the first reading, it was
A little
off.
unclear, yeah.
So this is now clear in the actual ordinance itself. So anything else? Okay. Do I have a motion from the commission on ordinance number 2081?
Ordinance number 2081.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Maybe and a second by by Schwartz.
Trying to get her to, but.
Roll call, please. Yes.
Or.
Or
Or
Motion passes. Tonight, we have no ordinances. We have 3 resolutions. First resolution is resolution number 4874, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Livingston, Montana, of its intent to fix the tax levy for fiscal year 2019 to 2020 and giving notice of a public hearing thereon. It's usually thereof.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
This is a notice of intent to correct the tax levy. This is an annual process when we receive the final tax valuations from the state, which always appear about a month or so after we actually ratify a budget. So this is a very standard annual process to bring the approved budget and the final valuations into balance. So this would move on to the 9-3 agenda for a public hearing for further discussion, any community input, and final vote.
Why am I public hearing already? You said the words and I went for it. Do we have any public comment on? I keep flipping around. I apologize.
4874.
4874. Resolution number 4874.
Jay Keeper, 325 South Main. Rather than, is there some specificity as far as uh, uh, fixing a tax levy as far as a mill levy or any dollar? What kind of numbers are we talking about?
Would you
Thank you.
explain the process?
I can at a high level. The valuations this year showed an increase in taxable value in our community of about 22% overall. Because of the way the state calculates how that actually becomes tax revenue into the municipalities, it results in a 3.47% increase for us in terms of revenue, which is roughly around $40,000. So even though our community taxable value has grown by over 20%, we're only going to see about, call it 40,000 of that in terms of an increase in revenue, because we are limited by the state as to how much we can grow, even though our taxable values have grown substantially.
And that's due to inflation.
And that's due to inflation.
That's, yeah, that we're tied to that.
Yes.
Is there some rationale why when you put a resolution that when you say a tax levy that you could not use parentheses as far as, heads up, this is going to be about this kind of dollar amount or this mill levy, so that people don't have to come up and ask the question that could be embedded right in the title of the agenda?
The detail of the resolution, including amounts and amount of levies and mills, is deeper into the packet in the documentation of the resolution itself. If we were going to get into all of that detail, it would be an extremely long resolution and reading every time we came here. So all of the information is included in the packet for your reference.
They always say the devil's in the detail.
It's in the packet.
Any other public comment? Commissioners, any questions or comments?
I have one. I thought I saw it in here. What is the value of a mill?
The 14,000.
14, I
14,000
wanted to get
something?
it exact. Thank you. You got to it quicker than I did.
Yeah, maybe answer your question there, Jay. The value of a mill is 14,000 something. Oh, there it is. 14,349.69. Okay. No,
Any
that's all I
other
have. I yield.
comments or questions? This is a typical process we go through, like Lisa was saying, on waiting for the state. Then we have to match and line up according to Montana code and what the state expects. And then this is where we are right now. And then it goes to a public hearing, and then we'll go to a second. Do we do two readings or one on this?
Leave one.
One, okay. All right, so we have one reading on this in the future. So any other last words? Do we have a motion from the commission on resolution number 4874?
Make a motion to approve resolution 4874.
Second.
We have a motion by Schwartz and a second by Maybe. Roll call, please. Yes,
4.
4.
motion passes. Next, we have resolution number 4875, a resolution authorizing the city manager to sign an addendum to the professional services agreement with Four Corners Recycling LLC, amending cardboard recycling fees for fiscal year 2019 to fiscal year 2022. Lisa.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As we've already kind of broached this evening, the recycling market with regards to cardboard has had some drastic changes in terms of commodity value and price. That has led to the request for this addendum to our already existing contract with Four Corners. We do have Dave here from Four Corners who can speak to it in much more detail than I can as to the specifics of the commodity market and what has driven this. This change would result in about a $6,000 increase to our overall costs in recycling of cardboard annually. So with that, Dave, if you'd like to join us.
Hello. I'd like to apologize for missing the meeting when the contract was coming up to be discussed. I completely had the wrong week, so I apologize for that. I'm very grateful that you guys still approve the contract going forward, and I have a bunch of info if you want to start with questions, or just if you'd like me to kind of give a global overview of what's happening right now.
Yeah, what,
Yeah, give the
why don't you-
overview, yeah, first.
So essentially what's been happening for 10 of the last 12 months, the cardboard pricing has not kept up with our actual processing costs. So over that period of time, we've been subsidizing the cardboard processing. What's also happened in the global marketplace is that our Asian trade partners have been buying less and less of it, to a goal of not buying any waste paper and plastics from the state in them. The largest market being China. We sell cardboard to companies in Washington, Oregon, but we also sell to South Korea, Vietnam, and China. We still have some product going in there. But what's essentially happened is that 70% of the industry did go overseas, because inputs were less for so many years to go ahead and make the new kraft stock, and which is paperboard that's used to make boxes. And with that system of them pulling out of the market, it's created a massive bottleneck here in our economy. We have tons of mills coming on right now. There's a new $320 million mill going in Salt Lake. There's another one going up in Vancouver, British Columbia. And there's one of our big mills that we work with is in Port Townsend, is doubling their consumption. The Amazon effect, as most people refer to it, is the demand for cardboard is very high. It's running. We just don't have the capacity stateside to go ahead and make all those. With that concept on cardboard is Nine Dragons, which is the largest paper producer in the world, has just bought 3 of the large mills on the East Coast, so that they are now expanding all those because they need the product. But the Olympics was a very big embarrassment to China of the air quality and everything goes on. So they've been making the changes that, as a global citizen, you hope that all countries want to do to have a cleaner system. So that's one of the processes that they are changing their manufacturing habits, and henceforth it's going to be a period of time, and it could be between 2 and 5 years. Right now, if you want to go ahead and see what 2,100 tons of cardboard looks like, all baled up and stacked up in a yard, I have a yard I can give you a tour of. But essentially what's happened is that part of our revenue stream and how we operate and be able to make is the value of the commodity. And when we've been subsidizing it through this period of time, of knowing that what we are selling at the $20 a ton range, actually, I did a little sketch.
I know, I'm sorry. I thought I moved far enough away from you.
In the sketch of it is that not only is the value been low, and we've been selling cardboard at $20 a ton, which is $35 a ton less than what it takes us to package it and ship it. Our allocation with this bottleneck has gone ahead and created huge challenges. And when I say I have 2,100 tons of cardboard on property, that isn't from a lack of wanting to sell it, even at a loss. There are times in the marketplace we may sway a little bit on it when the price is low to say, well, we'll just let it recover a little bit. The mills have been full. So to give you an idea is that we do around 600 roughly tons of cardboard this time of year per month. We've been able to sell on some months as little as 150 tons of that. With that, even selling it at a low price, we don't have that revenue to keep the company operating and cash flowing. So with it, we've been hoping that the market would change, and we realized finally in June that we had to start doing some things differently, and we went back to the drawing board and tried to find a way that we could go ahead and bridge a gap. So we've come to you, even though we are less than 60 days into our new contract, that says we need a temporary fix. And that temporary fix is that we would like to be able to bill you the $55 a ton that it takes us to go and process the material. The value of the material of it that we are able to sell, we will still split that value with you so that it'll be coming back to you as revenue to offset that $55 a ton. And our agreement with Mr. Holmes is that once we can get this backlog of cardboard off property, we can come back and revisit where we are. But as it is right now, this is going to be the first month in 10 months that our inventory is not growing. We were able to secure a contract since Shannon and I met a couple weeks ago that we got an additional allocation of 400 tons. So this month we will be gaining 150 tons on that pile of cardboard and get everything that comes out new. In that process is that cardboard has in the summertime about a 4-month shelf life, if you can call it, is that you can tarp it and put it in there, but it does degrade. And so with it, we will be gaining on that. And our oldest cardboard will be leaving property to go to it. So it still buys us time on the rest of it. As you know, that winters here are extremely easy for travel, and trucks love coming into Montana in the winter. So realistically is that when you look at this resolution, I would anticipate that it'll probably be somewhere close to February before we can get this volume and increased capacity. We have one mill that's doubling our allocation that will start the first part of October on it. So with that, we should be able to move an additional 300 ton above our normal zone into that mill. And we're just asking for you to help us to get through this stopgap. Most of the major contracts on recycling out on the West Coast were negotiated about a year ago of the force majeure, I think is the technical term for it, that this is all happening outside of normal trade practices. Trade wars are expensive and they cost everybody money in different ways. The recycling industry in particular is taking it very much on the nose on it. And Candy gives you a broad overview, and Mr. Holmes had told you about the way that Pacific has been going ahead and charging way more than what we're proposing. We just want to get through the system. And questions?
I can just add, Madam Chair. So first of all, we're very fortunate to have Dave provide the services for recycling that he does. We're very fortunate. Dave can tell you all the clients, municipal, counties, Yellowstone National Park. So we are fortunate with our location to his facility. We're not alone in this either. Livingston's not being singled out. So, his other contracts are implementing and have already been approved in a lot of cases for this same proposal that he's presenting to everybody tonight. So I just wanted to, Dave does a great job. We've had a long lasting relationship, and, we're just fortunate to have his services be available here in Park County, Yellowstone Park. And he's an expert. He's very, very, very highly regarded in the state for the recycling industry. So I want to give him kudos to that.
Anything else that you'd like to ask? Anyone? Warren?
Just a couple comments. I think I don't know if it's the world's or the country's biggest cardboard recyclers, International Paper, and their stock has dropped from about, I think, $46 a share to $39 a share. And they are by far the dominant producer. And this is kind of, to me, it strikes me kind of like the glass situation in terms of what your options are. It's certainly it is a valid situation. I mean, this is not, this is the reality on the ground is recycling cardboard. It's just not happening because of demand. But I'm kind of viewing it as in the same light as at this point as glass. What's the other option to do with it? Do we want to help the the company that's dealing with it. And this is a super rough spot right now. Thank you.
If I can speak to International Paper, they are one of the mills that we move allocation to. Historically speaking, we've moved between 300 and 400 tons of cardboard into their Springfield mill out in Oregon. With the bottleneck, we had that cut all the way down to 1 month that we were allowed 22 ton to sell to them. And then they came back after we said that this isn't going to work and this is changing our agreement, that we need some more support than that. They came back and gave us a 300 ton allocation and then couldn't find trucks. There's not any lumber trucks delivering material to this growth end of our valley here, but they couldn't put trucks underneath it. So then the next month they said, well, since we didn't do that, we'll carry on that allocation for you the next month. Again, they only picked up 300 ton of it. They are a partner. They are somebody that we have to move to. And this month our allocation got cut due to the fact that they have planned plant maintenance in the month of September. So they run their inventories down through August. And then in September, they'll have 2 weeks down and then they'll come back into the market. And they have assured us that we'll get a significant allocation on the other side and hopefully they can find trucks. Thank you.
I do believe it would cost us more to actually dump this than to recycle it. Am I correct on that assumption? What are we paying?
It works.
Right. Yeah. The whole stuff. So right on top of it. So to keep it in the recycling mix to me makes sense and to landfill it personally.
To give you an idea, is our historic business model is that I've only been in the business 26 years, but it was always that when I charge a business to pick up cardboard and I hand them $100 bill, they know that they saved $100 in it. Right now, I hand them a bill and it would end up being that they're saving $20 or $30 on it. So it still isn't in negative territory, but there are more inputs that go into it to go ahead and make it a challenge.
Exactly. Yeah, I just want to make that point. That's all, and get that out there. Thank you. I yield.
And if I can speak, part of the addendum, and this is where I think our long positive collaboration and working relationship with Dave is, when the market does come back up, this $45 a ton fee is going to go away, and that'll just be something that Dave and I work together, and it will not show up on the invoices after that date. So
I just want to, do you want to do
feel like
public
we
first?
flip-flopped.
I can wait. Yeah.
So
Okay.
it's okay.
I was just
You
hoping to answer
continue.
more questions.
Ask any more questions or make statements where you want.
I was just going to mirror what Quentin said. I thought, thank you for that. And you asked what I was going to ask Shannon, which was the cost comparison. And it sounds like this is still overall less and it will only go down. And I wanted to thank you also for explaining really well how federal decisions impact local communities and how they affect our citizens' own personal bank accounts with these choices. So yeah, so I feel like you all have answered all the questions and you've done a great job of explaining it also. Thank you.
If I can speak a little bit off topic, I also have a biofuels company. We make biodiesel out of waste vegetable oil. And before the last presidential election, we had everything set up to go ahead and put a $500,000 biodiesel processing plant in that would have provided $200,000 a year jobs and other $60,000 a year jobs in order to support that facility with it. And when the election went and the instability on federal policy of what the EPA is actually saying they want to accomplish out there, all of that has been mothballed and we've been, twiddling our thumbs for that period of time. We currently collect over 42,000 gallons a month of waste vegetable oil that could all be made into biodiesel here and be able to run. And diesel vehicles run better on a B5 blend than they do run on straight dyno diesel. And if you would have told me 25 years ago when I was a ski bum up in Big Sky that I would be making decisions on longshoreman strikes Donner Pass closing snow or what the presidential election on, I'd say that you're on some serious drugs.
That's good.
Well, thank you. We all have some statements at the end, but we'll open it to public comment and you can go ahead and sit down and if there's any more questions. Thank you so much. Any public comment on resolution number 4875?
Jay Keeper, 325 South Main. My questions are to the last speaker. He said that there are some mills that are going to be going online that are going to accept greater quantities of cardboard. And my question is, why would okay? There's a need for there's a backlog of cardboard that needs to be processed, but nobody has a crystal ball that can foresee. You know what? The market's going to turn around. I don't know where I don't know where the optimism comes from. And another point, he was talking about with the 55 with this addendum to just basically address the shortfall on there. He said that after things turn, there'll be we'll split our revenue. Well, when I talked to Paige at the city offices and asked her about the revenue, I said, really how much revenue does the city realize from the recycling efforts? And she said, zip. On there, what we receive are credits. It just offsets the overall expenses, but there is not any income on the bottom line that is reflected on the that goes into a bank account. And I just want to make that perfectly clear, because when he says that we're going to split the revenue, I talked to Paige in the finance office, and she said there is no revenue. And I would just like him to address that point. Thank you very much.
Lisa, would you answer that?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Those credits offset the expense. So while there isn't a revenue stream per se, we are cutting smaller checks against the expense, if that helps in the understanding of the process.
I don't know.
All right. Shannon, go ahead.
Certainly Dave has done a really good job of splitting the commodity costs, but we still have hauling costs. So the tipping fees, which were approved in the 3-year contract, it still costs $175 to bring a truck over here, load up our triple bins, get our metal container roll off, pick up our cardboard compactor units and take those over. So, that's the fee that the commodity does not overcome.
Any other public comment? Well, welcome up.
Nolan Lister, Enterprise. Shannon mentioned that once the market sort of corrects itself, that this fee will just go away. Will there be another addendum to this contract at that point? What does that point look like? Is there a particular metric with the market that once it's met, we'll say, yep, that's it, fee's gone? Is that in this language that we're looking at tonight, or is this more of like a handshake thing?
Shannon, why don't you address that? Thank you.
So it would be my preference, obviously, and this would be in consultation with the city manager, if and when that time warrants and it looks like the commodity market for the duration of our 3-year contract is going to be on a positive note. I have absolutely no problem with bringing back a future addendum absolving this current addendum. Or if city manager and the commission concurs, if you put your trust in me and Dave as our contractor, I'm we can handle it that way as well. So it's just a matter of how formal of a process we really want to make it. But I can assure you that the working relationship that myself, Matt, and Rich have with Dave, we are going to have enough communication to have a pretty good understanding of when this bottleneck is going to be over and this $45 fee is going to be absolved.
All right. Any other public comment?
Madam Chairman, I never did hear.
Jay.
I'm addressing
Jay,
my first
but
I'm going back to my first.
You gave up the floor by sitting down,
Well,
and then your public comment
you
is
didn't
over.
respond to my question when I asked about how much it costs for glass to be shipped out of the county. That was never
We are
answered in my first
talking
4
about
minutes.
cardboard today.
Well, I know, but I was talking about glass in my first 4 minutes, and you refused to acknowledge that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We don't need to do this every meeting. So, commissioners, any last comments or questions on this resolution?
How often does Four Corners, is a quarterly report we get of what the tonnage is, or we get a monthly report, so I'm comfortable with it. Yeah. Thank you. I yield.
I have just two quick comments on it. When we look at this as garbage or recycling, I mean, it's really two issues. Do we pay for the garbage or do we pay for the recycling? I'm going to always vote for the recycling when you are close. And because we're stewards of our community and we're stewards of our lands, and if we can keep cardboard out of the landfill or the garbage stream, then I think we're doing a good thing. And we should always be thinking like that as well in our choices, in my opinion, but also economically sort of washes out. And I think we're putting the budget and the taxpayers' money or dollars at equal footing to doing the right thing as well. So I think this is a good solution for a hopefully shorter term problem, but we've watched it for years. This isn't the first time we've had these conversations in Montana. So I think it's a great idea. Continue working with you and moving forward with this resolution. Anyone else?
I would just repeat that I appreciate both your comments, Jarrell and Quentin, and mirror your sentiments. I think Dave actually already addressed the bottleneck when he was up here and how I don't think it was a crystal ball, but more of knowing what's coming online and what facilities are going to be available for his business. So I think that's how he was able to estimate timelines. Also, I think this issue with recycling and waste that we've been talking about is a great example of how none of our decisions are really in isolation. The decisions that we make within Livingston are not really in isolation, and we have to work with our partners through these kinds of regional or international fluxes, because we simply don't do it here. We don't have, like, all of our waste goes somewhere else. So we have to work through with our partners. We can't just stockpile everything indefinitely. So I just think it's an important reminder. If we don't deal with it now, we're just passing it along to the next round of commissioners or the next generation of people to figure it out. So thank you, Shannon, for speaking up also about the cost differences and the value of this relationship, that we're lucky that we even have this opportunity in Livingston. I yield.
So do we have a motion for resolution number 4875?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 4875.
Second.
Motion by Newts and a second by Maybe. Roll call, please. Yes?
4.
Four.
4.
Motion passes. Final resolution tonight is resolution number 4876, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Livingston, Montana, authorizing the city manager to sign a general services agreement and master agreement with Onsite Energy, Inc. for installation of a solar energy storage system at the new wastewater reclamation facility. Lisa.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This has been a longstanding part of the water reclamation facility project, is to integrate some sort of renewable energy, this one in the form of solar. So this is actually to install that, to sign up for this contract. Overall, we will spend a net about 30,000 from already existing sewer fees that we have, and it will save $3,500 dollars annually of cost in energy. So, that return is over the course of 10 years, but that 3,500 we would be paying regardless of whether or not we put in this system. So the city is very excited to partner with Onsite Energy to have this system brought online and installed at the wastewater reclamation facility. Thank you.
Thank you. Any public comment on resolution number 4876?
Is there a representative on-site management that is here that can address any questions?
Not this evening, no.
When will they appear?
They will not.
They will not.
No.
Well, can I ask on their, how is this cost, how is this, this is the kind of cost savings that we're going to realize over a 10-year period. How do they know that when, as far as, where are these numbers magically sprouting from?
Because this is what they do, and it's a competitive bid process.
This is what they do, and it's a competitive bid process so that they
Hey.
are. Oh, no,
Hey.
no, Anya, I just like to
Mr.
know how they.
Jay, you're going to stop treating, I mean this.
Oh,
and I'm
okay,
gonna stop-
okay.
You're
Well,
gonna
oh,
stop being disrespectful to the people in this room. This is the last time I'm asking you, or I will have you removed, and I will have our chief do it. Do you understand? Now, I'm not asking again.
no, no.
This is the 5th time. We're done. We'll resume the meeting. I will answer that this has been a process. We have been going through this process for a number of months. Comron has been updating us on a regular basis. This is done with Northwest Energy,
Yes.
with Onsite, and with Comron as the consultant. Anyone I missed or anything I missed that I,
don't
okay.
believe so, no.
So this is,
Oh, yes.
yes. Working with them as they're building the system or the whole wastewater treatment plant.
It's
they've
been a
working with.
team
Yeah.
effort, but COM certainly has led the charge. Certainly with the help of the Yellowstone Bend Coalition. And, this started back in 2013 when we were looking at alternative energy sources for this project since inception. And I think we all know going through the whole design and construction that we really put a huge emphasis on energy efficiency. And we're very fortunate with COM and his expertise as our NCAT energy coordinator to use the majority of the funds to fund this project through rebates because of our efforts on energy efficiency during construction. So there's been a lot of thought and effort, and COM and Onsite really have ran all the numbers for this system. And to be honest with you, in a 4-year period of time, we went from looking at systems that their paybacks exceeded the lifespan of the infrastructure to this one now being in a 14 to 15 year range. And so that just really illustrates the advancements that the solar industry is taken over the last 4 to 5 years.
Melissa?
So before the meeting, Comron emailed us, and I think it'd be nice to read some of what he says into the record because I know there's people that are really interested that tune in, and it has more details about the. Do you mind if I do that, Jarrell?
Sure.
Okay. So he just couldn't be here tonight, but this is what he wanted to share. It's an official comment on the resolution. This solar project is one that I devoted a lot of time to this past year. It was clear from the start that this facility would be a good candidate for a large solar system given its huge energy usage. Due to this high usage, we have the opportunity to implement a system larger than the 50 kilowatt system that Northwestern limits us to. Because of economies of scale, it's more cost efficient to install solar in larger chunks rather than smaller individual systems. The approach we've taken with this project is multi-phase. In this first phase, we have elected to install a 40 kilowatt system, which features oversized electrical components and ability to move the system to accommodate a larger future installation of panels. This system would lay the groundwork for a system that properly accommodates that facility's electrical usage. Future phases of this project would utilize that electrical infrastructure, as well as the energy data we have begun logging to increase solar production. A large portion of this project is funded by a rebate from Northwestern Energy for other energy efficient devices installed in the water reclamation facility. This is money Danielle Miska from NCAT and I discovered during our lighting audits. I'm confident in the value of this system being installed at the facility and look forward to seeing this project expand in the coming years.
Anything else to add?
I mean, this is his job. This is what he gets paid for as the energy intern, is to tell us how to save money using energy. And he's, an engineer who's looking at Livingston for us, and Shannon's an engineer, and they're thinking about this, and I think it's great. I am looking forward to seeing it grow and us reducing the amount we have to pay for operating this facility as solar and other renewables come online. I think it's exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just wondering what the expected life of the system is.
It's a little over 20 to 25 years.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Melissa did exactly what I wanted to do as well, and highlight what Cameron, that email that he had and everything else that shed a lot more light on everything. Besides the other stuff he's talked about beforehand. So no, I'm excited about it.
And it's, for me, the only thing is, again, about being stewards of our lands. And this is one of the examples as a city, we are attempting to do that. So do I have a motion from the commission on resolution number 4876?
Make a motion to approve resolution 4876.
Second.
We have a motion by Schwartz and a second by Newts. Roll call, please. Yes.
4.
Or
Motion passes. Last major item is action item A, to discuss scheduling commissioners listening session for September. Quentin, I'm going to give it to you because it's
Thank you.
your thing.
Yeah. I don't know. I like this idea of the utilizing the Wednesday farmers market right now. And being able to sit at a table and have people come and ask questions in informal time. I would be happy to. I can't notice it now. Be at the next one, and maybe we could notice it, so that way.
Tomorrow or 20?
Well, tomorrow we don't have time
Yes.
to notice it for if we all sat around or a majority, a quorum did. But,
Or we could just choose that two, other than I'm sure there's going to be maybe a potential commissioner there.
right, but we
can
can
notice
notice it for a week from Wednesday. And just do that and see about getting a table. And I've been being in check with. You got something to say about it? Thank you.
I do.
But that's you first.
As part of our agreement with Western Sustainability, the city already has a table, if you will, at the farmers market. So just let me know what day you would like to reserve it. We have Early Childhood Coalition does outreach there, police department, Livingston Fire Rescue. So we kind of rotate some
okay.
of the services through. So if you'd like that table,
Just adding more chairs to it.
just I'll add some
Just do
chairs.
that.
Just let me know.
Michael had mentioned adding a dunk booth for Quentin, I think.
Ooh.
Were you still, were you volunteering for that?
Oh, I'd look good. Yeah.
But he volunteered.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
I'm not
No.
in favor of it. It could be like
See,
snowing
I
by
think
September.
Mike goes in the dunk tank because I had to cover on my birthday and I'm covering tonight. So I think Mike goes in the dunk
He
tank.
owes you. Yeah, I
Well
would
played, Lisa. Well
I would be
played.
happy to sit at that. Not this Wednesday, but next Wednesday.
Next Wednesday? Okay.
And how many more farmers markets? Do we go all the way through September? Is that the
Yes, we
18th?
do. Or
I
is it
thought they were shortening it by, I
2
think
weeks?
it's only 2 weeks into September.
Okay, because it used to be October 5th or something. It seemed went too late. Yeah.
We
Say
really
8/28 and
It quits
9.
when everything gets ripe
Yeah.
or snows,
Yeah.
whichever
Um,
comes first. Yeah.
I think it would be interesting if we just planned on doing the next 3 and try to be consistent there
Right.
for 3 weeks in a row for the last, and try plan for it and see. I know that we have a meeting, Quentin and I, on the 4th, but I could do the 11th. And then Quentin will do the next one, the 28th,
18th?
The 18th is the last one.
18th. Oh, so we have 4 potential weeks.
But not, yeah, 28th.
We can sit there tomorrow. We just can't have a quorum.
And we can email about this.
Yeah.
And plus,
Because
as
it's
long as
just
we notice it, I mean,
organizing.
if we have 1 or 2, so what? If we have 4, then we're covered. I just want to make sure it's
I-
noticed properly.
I just wonder though,
Yeah.
the series of it.
Yeah, we
and
could just
all at
notice
one
a
time,
series.
We have to do it every week.
You can just notice a series of dates.
Well, I don't, unless there is a quorum. It's just money, right?
Just
Right.
notice it. So
And then, as we get into the fall, we can look at doing it on second or third Saturday at the Food Resource Center or some
Mhm.
other place.
Mhm. Okay.
And try to expand it a little more besides just me and Phil.
So we will,
will you do August 28th as well? To be the 28th,
Yeah.
the 4th, the 11th, and the 18th?
Yeah.
Okay,
and
just so I
then
can
what,
get the notice.
we'll just, I can't do the next 2. First day of school meeting, then I can do the next 2 that I know of right now.
I can do the 28th, 11th, and 18th. I'll just plan on it. Okay.
City manager comments.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Mike Cardus had wanted me to mention that the Conservation Board, I think we've had some initial discussions around that. He has drafted bylaws and those are with Cameron for review, so that will be appearing on a very upcoming meeting very soon. So that is in process. Also wanted to make everyone aware that the Civic Center is closing from August 26th through September 15th so that we can do much needed maintenance to the gymnasium floor, which we did not do last year. as a cost saving measure. So this year we absolutely have to recoat it, reseal it, sand it, and because it is an oil based product, we cannot be in the building for 10 days while
What
it
are the
cures.
dates again, Lisa?
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the dates?
Yep, August 26th through September 15th.
Where will the staff be that has offices in the building?
We'll be either working remotely from home or meeting at various locations or crashing in offices if folks will let us.
Right, working from home, sure.
Anything else?
No, that is it. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Melissa?
I just, Cameron had a going away party this month, and I just wanted to acknowledge all the work he's done. And I have like a short list of things that I think some of which he's been more involved in or less involved in. And when you think about all of these things, you can think about what an impact his 10 months in Livingston has made. So, the first is the work that he did to get different topics that he's working on into the strategic plan. Speaking of topics added to the strategic plan, an energy action plan, which is great for our city. The EV charging station that just went in, I don't think that was primarily him. I think that was a lot of people. But certainly he added to that dialogue. The solar panels at the water treatment plant, the conservation board, I think the lights, street lights, he influenced that, I think, as well. And then I don't think that recycling was just him. I think that's a lot of Shannon, but I think that that's something that plays into what Cameron does also. So I just I think it's nice to officially say thank you, Cameron. I know you're not here, and I thanked him, and I'll thank him again before he leaves. And I would encourage any of you to do the same. I think it's exciting to think of his short time here and the really long-term impacts and savings that our community will see from his expertise. So thanks, Com.
Also worked with the solar panels on private residency.
Yeah, Solarize Livingston with YBCC. Yeah, huge. We're lucky that he came here. That's it. I yield.
Well, it also, I mean, to play off of it, the city was part in the role of bringing him here and the granting and working with the county. And so there's a lot of people that were forward thinking on and solutions for our community. I love it.
Same.
Yeah, I would just like to agree that he provided a kind of a tipping point for putting things on a path that's going to be very positive for the city. So thank you, Com. I yield.
I want to say that he exceeded my expectations, and also a lot of thanks goes to Jim Berg for really initiating, kind of pushing him on us and stuff like that. I was kind of rolling my eyes at Jim at first when he was telling me about it, but wow, what an impact! I'm also on the Wind Rider board. We were just awarded funds for a new bus, another bus, which we should take possession of hopefully next April and stuff, and are looking for more community partners in respect to that and stuff. So things are looking up with that. Ridership is always up. It's steady. Remember, it's that bus can be used for special events. It's very reasonable in price and stuff like that. So if you belong to any organizations where you need to move a group of people, Wind Rider's the first one to go to. I think that's all I have. That's all I had written down. So I will move and yield.
Well, it's been a couple months from my shouting out or shout out to a community member because of meeting lengths. But the person who was actually here at the last meeting, and that's Jean Marie, and I'll say her name incorrectly, Sauvigny Sauvigny, I think is how you say it, or Sauvigny.
I always say 7 years. She hasn't corrected me yet.
But she said it the other day and she made it different than we're saying it. So, but Jean Marie, I think, is one of those people that is very quiet in what she gets it done. And she doesn't say a lot about it until she has to. And just hearing over the time I've been on Parks and Trails with her, and she's the chair of Parks and Trails, just little bits of information that she shares with us just shows how many things she has done for our community. And goes way back to Moha Park, or the dog park. She helped drive turning that from a landfill to making it the park that it is, or the dog area / hangout area. There's a lot of people that are there on a daily basis, and she worked with a lot of people, not just herself, but she is such a great organizer of people that people come along for the ride because she is very thoughtful and very driven to do what's good for our community. Also, just Parks and Trails. I'm thinking of our new little O Street Connector Trail. She was one of the people who drove that forward. Shannon, you were also very helpful with that, and we appreciate you. But I think just her stating it and starting the conversations, and she does it quietly and a little bit at a time. And the next thing you know, we have this amazing work going on. I drove by it yesterday, and just you can see the path and how it's going to connect our community to the hospital better. And so she's just one of those people that does it subtly, but gets so much more done than people realize. And I think we need to thank her often. So that's my only thing tonight, my only shout out.
I'd like to add that I've been very pleased to be your next door neighbor for the last 27 years. She is quite incredible.
Incredible. Yes. So do we have a motion for adjournment?
I move that we adjourn. Since Mel's not here, somebody's got to do it.
Um,
How does this go?
Everyone in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? This meeting of the Livingston City Commission is adjourned at 7:09
Wow, that's not
or
bad.
8. Jay, Jay, Jay,